When you think of Arkham Asylum, where do your thoughts lead you? Some may be picturing a bleak building shrouded by shadows and ominous trees. Some may be hearing the Arkham Asylum theme in their head from the game under the same title. Some may be thinking of a comic book they read where the notorious asylum was drawn. However, I would assume that most people's minds jump to the inmates, the crazies cooped up inside of the asylum waiting for a chance to escape and wreak havoc on Gotham City. Throughout Batman's history as a character, many villains have fought the Dark Knight, some winning, many losing. Most, however, seem to be imprisoned at the same institution, Arkham Asylum, home for the criminally insane. However, what if I were to tell you that some of Batman's worst rogues don't actually belong in the asylum? In fact, villains like the Penguin, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Man-Bat, Scarecrow, Harley Quinn, and even the Joker himself may not actually belong in Arkham Asylum. Many of you may be thinking, of course they all belong in Arkham, especially the Joker. I mean, have you seen what the guy's done? While the statement may be true, it's not accurate. Crime does not equal insanity, and scary costumes do not attribute to mental illness, and therefore needing the assistance of a psychiatric facility. Don't get me confused, many of Batman's rogues need mental health support because of their heinous actions. However, that does not equate to their need to be placed inside of a mental facility. For this video, I mainly want to discuss media and comics that take place after the deinstitutionalization of asylums in the 1960s. While I won't be able to get into too much depth of each prisoner, I want to give you a general overview of both their backgrounds, crimes, psychological disturbances, and why they may not belong in Arkham Asylum using both United States and individual state laws. Since we know Gotham City is in New Jersey, as established in Batman Annual No. 1, which released in 1993, I will try to use their laws, New Jersey's, and proceedings concerning the claims of mental insanity in court. You may be thinking, alright, cool. Batman's a fictional character. Why does it matter if the villains go to Arkham or Blackgate? The answer is because reality matters to a character that's trying to portray real-life scenarios. Sure, while there is not a bad creature fighting crime in the night, since the Dark Knight's conception, he's always been thought of as a character that could exist in real life. In order to portray reality correctly in comics, we must also follow the same lines in which reality outside of comics is portrayed, i.e. laws, physics outside of flying superheroes with special powers, which we are not discussing, and animal biology, which includes humans. However, before we begin our investigation into the patients of Arkham Asylum, I feel that it's important to have a brief overview of the building's history. The Elizabeth Arkham Asylum, home for the criminally insane, better known as Arkham Asylum, was erected in the early 1900s. According to the comic Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth, Arkham Asylum was once a home filled with the laughter and joy from the Arkham family. In Arkham Asylum, Living Hell, it is revealed that an occult leader named Jason Blood was the person who laid the foundations of the asylum and would regularly perform exorcisms in the walls of the mental hospital. Due to the lack of knowledge concerning mental health at the time, many of Gotham's poorest would come to the asylum with pre-existing conditions, thinking that a demon possessed their bodies. These, often homeless people, would seek the help of Jason Blood as a way to get better. However, much later, Blood would seal off the basement in hope that the evil spirits of his patients would be contained underneath the earth. Now, the Arkham family has inhabited the building for some time, and Elizabeth Arkham's husband dies, leaving her son, Amadeus, to take care of her. After Elizabeth's suicide in 1920, Amadeus made it his life's work to become a psychiatrist and try to cure those with mental illness. Amadeus eventually moved out of Gotham, married, and had a child. However, their departure would not last long, as they would eventually return to Gotham. Amadeus continued his work in Gotham until his wife, Constance, and daughter Harriet were killed. This event would continue to haunt Amadeus, and he was eventually committed to Arkham Asylum as its first inmate. Eventually, however, the first asylum was destroyed after an attack by Bane. The second asylum, Mercy Mansion, was accidentally discovered by the Joker. With his success in the cement business, Eric Mercy constructed the Gothic-appearing manor as a way to seclude himself from the world. After Batman found the Joker in the manor, Jeremiah Arkham, Amadeus Arkham's great-nephew, appeared at the crime scene inside of Mercy Mansion. He decided that the location was a great place for another asylum. So with this relatively brief history of Arkham Asylum in mind, without further ado, let's take a look behind the curtains at the inmates of Arkham Asylum, if they belong and where they should go if they are not. The Penguin. First appearing in Detective Comics number 58, Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, is a career criminal inside of Gotham City. Often creating elaborate schemes in order to steal money while posing as an innocent businessman, the Penguin is also an owner of the club known as the Iceberg Lounge. Since his first appearance, the Penguin has been one of the most commonly occurring villains in Batman's Rogue Gallery and presents himself as a threat to the Caped Crusader. The Penguin's most atrocious crimes include underground gangs, featured in No Man's Land, armed dealings, Arkham Knight, and murder in Batman Returns. Many psychologists who have analyzed Cobblepot have concluded that he contains traits of narcissistic personality tendencies, antisocial traits, paranoid, and inferiority complex issues. The Penguin, as previously mentioned, is one of the most recurring Batman rogues throughout the character's history. After being apprehended by the Dark Knight, he is usually reinstituted back into Arkham Asylum. However, this is not where he belongs. Two-Face. Formerly known as Harvey Dent, Two-Face was scarred down half of his body after a failed assassination attempt on his life in court. As a result, the former district attorney uses a half-scarred coin in order to decide what decisions he should make. Since his fall into crime, Two-Face has had multiple chances to reconstruct his face and return to his former life. However, he vehemently refuses almost every time. Harvey's worst crimes include extortion, murder, as seen in The Dark Knight, brain manipulation in Batman Forever, holding a hostage in Arkham City, and robbery in Arkham Knight. Psychologists have also analyzed the traits exhibited by Harvey Dent, concluding that he has shown traits of multiple personality disorder, although it's not recognized in the DSM-5, or better known as the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders. He also shows post-traumatic disorder, obsessive-compulsive elements, and depression. Many of Two-Face's appearance, whether in film or comic, and in his return to Arkham Asylum. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze, formerly Victor Freeze, once worked at GothCorp and cryogenically froze his wife, Nora Freeze, in order to save her from a disease with an unknown cure. However, Freeze's equipment stopped working properly and infected him. The only way for Victor to survive was to build a cryogenic suit that kept his body heat in sub-zero temperatures. Freeze and the Dark Knight have had many run-ins over the years. However, usually the reason behind his crimes stem from his wife and his need for money or technology in order to continue his work saving her. Some of Freeze's worst crimes include city takeovers, such as Batman and Robin, and robbery in the Batman 2004 show. Psychologists that have analyzed Mr. Freeze conclude that the character shows signs of obsessive-compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, antisocial traits, and certain schizoid personality traits. While his crimes are relatively minor, many depictions of Mr. Freeze have him contained inside of Arkham Asylum. Man-Bat. Dr. Kirk Langstrom, the Man-Bat, was a researcher investigating the links between bats and potential human sonar capabilities. Using himself as the first test subject, his findings were positive. However, there came horrible side effects. Langstrom was turned into the Man-Bat, a human bat shaped with physical enhancements such as sonar, flight, and super strength. He first clashes with the Dark Knight when attempting to steal the chemicals that would turn him back into his human form. However, his human personality took over during the confrontation, and Batman was forced to subdue him. Some of Man-Bat's worst crimes include theft and murder. Psychologists that have reviewed Man-Bat have mentioned that he contains traits of substance-induced disorders, a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder brought on by his need to perfect his Man-Bat serum, and certain schizoid personality criterion. While the Man-Bat is a formidable foe against Batman, he is also one of the contestants most likely to belong inside of the Asylum. Scarecrow. Dr. Jonathan Crane is an ex-professor who obsessed with learning the cause and effects of fear during his time at the university he worked at and afterwards. After creating a toxin to invoke fear on anyone who breathed in the airborne substance, Scarecrow went on to do many crimes, most of which were stopped by Batman. Due to Scarecrow's lack of empathy, many psychologists have mentioned that he may be psychotic, showing signs of narcissistic personality disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, paranoid ideations, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Scarecrow's worst crimes include murder in World's Finest No. 3, takeover of Gotham in Arkham Knight and Batman Begins, and using fear toxin to admit non-psychotic patients into Arkham Asylum, such as Batman Begins. Harley Quinn. Dr. Harleen Quinzel was a former staff member of Arkham Asylum. However, after meeting with the Joker for the first time, her descent into madness was imminent. Now known as Harley Quinn, her obsession with appeasing and earning the favor of the Joker has made her do things that she would otherwise not do. In the early portrayals of the character, Harley Quinn shows signs of dependent personality disorder, codependency. Although her relationship with the Joker is abusive, she continues to stay in order to gain his approval, post-traumatic stress disorder, and multiple personality disorder. Harley's worst crimes include murder, such as in the Suicide Squad, participation in crime in Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, Arkham Origins, Batman the Animated Series, Lego Batman 1, 2, and 3, Lego DC Superheroes, theft, such in Batman the Animated Series, and using substances for illegal activities, such as Batman the Animated Series, terrorism, kidnapping, armed robbery, prison breaks, conspiracy, and animal cruelty. The Joker. Often considered the worst of the worst when discussing Batman's rogues, the Joker was a failed thug who worked for the mob under the name Red Hood. After an encounter with Batman at Ace Chemicals, the Joker was dropped into a vat of toxin. While Batman thought the man had died, Joker had survived and resurfaced with his iconic green hair and pale skin. After his encounter, he would continue to fight Batman and would be sent back to Arkham Asylum time and time again. Psychologists that have analyzed the Joker have concluded that he shows signs of antisocial personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, narcissism, psychopathy, schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, and sadistic personality disorder. The Clown Prince of Crime also has a large list of crimes, including, but not limited to, mass murder, genocide, terrorism, such as Emperor Joker, The Killing Joke, Death in the Family, Batman 1989, The Dark Knight, The Joker Wars, psychological torture and abuse, to Harley Quinn, and seen in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, Batman Brave and the Bold, psychological manipulation in Batman Endgame, Injustice Gods Among Us, child endangerment and abuse in No Man's Land and Arkham Knight, chemical crimes such as The Laughing Fish and The Man Who Laughs, Batman 1966 and Batman 1989, corruption in The Joker Wars and Death in the Family, and rape in Joker novel. Now that every villain we have been looking at has been assessed, we can begin to find out which ones actually belong in Arkham Asylum. According to New Jersey Law 2C 4-1, which I will be using primarily to assess all villains, a person is not criminally responsible for conduct if at the time of such conduct he was laboring under such a defective reason from disease of the mind as not to know the nature and quality of the act he was doing. Using this law, we can clearly rule out the Penguin as a potential pleader for insanity, using this clip from Batman Returns.
You're just jealous because I'm a genuine.
As the clip shows, we can clearly see Penguin's inner struggle between choosing what is right and choosing what he thinks is best for himself. This information is further cemented by this clip from Batman the Animated Series.
I suppose it's true what they say. Society is to blame.
As we can see, the Penguin acknowledges that there are flaws in the system. However, this line of logic leads him to believe that the system must be abolished entirely. While the Penguin never clearly articulates that he knows that his motives are wrong, we can clearly see an inner struggle in himself, which leads us to conclude that his conscience knows that the action is wrong. Two-Face. According to New Jersey Law 2C 4-1, a criminal must not only have a defective reason at the time of the crime, furthermore, they must also have one diagnosed mental disorder and not have the knowledge that their crime was wrong by law. This means that Two-Face's case is pretty open and closed. While he does possess multiple mental disorders, he is fully aware of his wrongdoings in the following clips.
You're a lucky man. He's not. Who? Your driver.
Was horribly scarred by underworld kingpin Boss Maroney. Although Batman tried to save him, Dent's left brain damage transformed him into a violent criminal.
Mr. Freeze. Much like Two-Face, while Victor does contain multiple mental disorders, he also understands that his actions are wrong in these clips.
Will you help me? Take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
This leads us to conclude that Mr. Freeze is not insane. Man-Bat. Dr. Langstrom is the most difficult offender on the list when it comes to the insanity plea. In some versions of the character, he understands that what he is doing is wrong, while in other versions, Man-Bat is the personality perpetrating the crimes. Take a look at these two clips and notice the difference.
The birth of Man-Bat.
I'm sorry, Kirk, but this is the right place for you.
I only wanted to help people, and I've killed the one thing I ever loved.
It wasn't you that did those things. I believe you never meant to harm anyone.
But I did. Nothing can change that. I'm a freak, a monster. They should leave me to rot in here.
In order to determine Man-Bat's sanity, we must look at his actions before he becomes Man-Bat. Did Dr. Langstrom understand that his serum would turn him into the Bat creature and thus cause harm to others, or merely did he think that the Bat's serum would help sonar capabilities? Furthermore, after transformation, Man-Bat loses all form of cognitive awareness. Thus, if he, Man-Bat, cannot understand the difference between right and wrong, his actions as Man-Bat infer his, Langstrom's, sanity. However, this only stands if there is some form of evidence to support that Man-Bat does not show any conscious awareness. However, since Langstrom induced himself with the serum, many New Jersey courts would see this as a substance-induced insanity. So while Man-Bat causes temporal insanity to Langstrom, it was still Kirk's decision to inject himself with the serum. Thus, Dr. Kirk Langstrom most likely would not belong in Arkham Asylum. Scarecrow. While Dr. Langstrom's case was longer, Scarecrow's will not be as complex due to fundamental issues in the crux of his insanity plea. While Crane suffers from mental disorders, we see throughout his character's history his embrace of wrongdoing from a philosophical standing. Furthermore, many of his plans were premeditated.
This demonstration used just 5 ounces of my latest toxin. Tomorrow, this will seem like child's play. Gotham, this is your only warning.
Thus, Crane's insanity plea falls flat on its face when confronted with New Jersey law. Harley Quinn. While Harleen Quinzel has multiple diagnosed mental disorders, she is also missing a fundamental backing to help her insanity plea. In many portrayals, Harley knows what she's doing, evades police using disguise, shows guilt and remorse, and continues participating in crime to please the Joker. However, even with the support backing this, we must also look at her emotions. Was she exploited by the Joker in order for him, Joker, to gain more money, power, or fame? Much of the time, the answer is yes. However, the issue is that Harley understands that the crimes are wrong and willingly participates in them without consulting the police about the way the Joker treats her. While trauma and mental, physical, and emotional exploitation are often used, Harley's insanity plea does not pass the New Jersey court, and she would not be admitted to Arkham Asylum. The Joker. Much like the prior rogues, the Joker also has many mental health issues and disorders. However, New Jersey state law requires that only severe mental disorders can even qualify for an insanity plea. Disorders such as psychopathy alone are not enough to begin a plea bargain in the New Jersey court. The next question would be then, does he know right from wrong? The answer is yes. He constantly taunts Batman.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?
Evades police. Plans traps.
I'm giving away free money. And where is the Batman? He's at home, washing his tights.
Often admits that what he is doing is wrong.
That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day.
And finally, the nail on the coffin is that his plans often revolve around him knowing that what he's doing is wrong, such as Batman's death in the family, A Killing Joke, Arkham Asylum, and The Dark Knight. Joker understands that his actions cause harm to himself and to the people around him. Thus, without a severe mental disorder or lack of moral understanding, the Joker's insanity plea is crumbling from the bottom up. Was the Joker's behavior voluntary? Yes, he chooses his targets, plans his attacks, crafts psychological torture methods, manipulates others, and evades capture on multiple occasions. In conclusion, the Joker would be, most likely, labeled as mentally disturbed, but not be admitted to Arkham Asylum under mental insanity. However, there may be some exceptions, such as the Jared Leto Joker in the Suicide Squad, who shows signs of hallucinations and disordered thoughts, and Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth Joker who may suffer from shifting personalities that conflict with each other. Even with these diagnoses, however, he would still be held criminally liable and not insane. I hope you enjoyed this video revolving around the inmates of Arkham Asylum. Join us next week as I hope to continue this series because I found this very informative and very fun. Let me know if you have any criminals that you would like to see and see if they would pass the test to be put into Arkham Asylum. I personally found this list really interesting, especially Man-Bat, because I did not think that Man-Bat would be going to Blackgate, but as you know, I said most of these criminals would probably end up in Blackgate as they do not qualify for insanity. Once again, we were using current modern measures. I believe New Jersey's laws were enacted in the 70s concerning mental insanity pleas. And many of the Batman, many of the videos, the media that I mentioned concerning these villains show a Batman in a more recent age, definitely past the 70s when you start thinking about Batman the Animated Series, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were you shocked just as I was? Yeah, let me know. And once again, let me know what villains you'd like to see if they would pass the insanity plea to go to Arkham Asylum or not. Thanks for watching. Bye.